everybody. Welcome to the
going on?
podcast.
We're back.
Yeah, we had a little technical difficulties last week trying to do Jonesy's podcast, hence why I'm in the, I guess it's this way, office area, or whichever way it's going. I don't know. So, but today we got, I'm excited for this one. We got Jesse Hynes here, and, we're going to talk about Seedstarter. Hey, how you doing, Jesse?
I'm great. I don't think I've actually ever made the beginning of the show, so this is the first time I heard the music, and it's pretty good. It's pretty dope.
It's Timbo's music.
Yeah, it's Tim's.
Oh, really? That's cool.
Yeah. He pushed that out a long time ago, and then when we started doing it, he's like, "Hey, you can use this if you want." And so I was like, "I like it. It's
perfect
great.
intro."
Yeah, it's awesome.
Sweet, short, I like it.
So now we use it. So
that guy does everything. He's got like everything going.
He's a fun guy to talk to. If you ever get to meet, did you meet him at Gulliver's at all? Talk to him?
I don't know, to be honest. I met a lot of people back then.
I know, right? It's so many. He's young guy, plays baseball for the minor leagues. Yeah. He's got his hands in a bunch of different other projects, and so he's super busy. But one of the most honest and really nice guys that you can ever meet. Like, just very, very good person. So
yeah,
I highly suggest chatting with him at any point in time. If you get to, you will not be disappointed. So yeah. I do want to say I'm really glad to see that you had clothes on for this. I know there was some debate on that. So I was getting a little worried. Oh yeah. Shit. But well, let's talk about Seedstarter, man. Let's why don't you kind of give us the intro of I'm excited about it, but I know there's so many people that I've been talking to, just in general with what's coming to the table. But I don't do it justice. I've heard you give the elevator pitch and talk about it more. So kind of let people know what you got going on.
Sure. Yeah. To the stream too, just a little homepage.
Yeah. And I'm a bit of a rambler, so you can do what I used to do with like witnesses that I would cross-examine. If I talk too much, just like hold your hand up. It works. It's the oddest thing. It works in court, where you just hold your hand up and people are just like, "Oh, okay," But anyway, Seedstarter. It's technically called a funding portal. Funding portals were something that were made legal through regulation, crowdfunding, part of the Jobs Act of 2015, 2016. Anyway, the best explanation for it is it's an equity crowdfunding platform, kind of like Kickstarter, where any business can come and say, "Hey, look, I'm looking to raise funds. Here's my idea." The difference between this and Kickstarter is that the people who invest, the people who actually help to fund the business, get an equity interest of sorts, a security interest, and that's determined by the company. The company that is raising will say, "Hey, I either want to issue stock, or I want to issue an agreement that's called a SAFE, which is like a future equity agreement, or I want to actually give people who invest a royalty interest, or this is some sort of secured debt that has an interest rate." So the company gets to decide. You as the user get to look at all that information and decide if you're going to invest in that company.
That was a nice and quick and easy pitch. I like it.
I almost went longer, but I put the hand up to my own.
Yeah. So it's like, rather than receiving, a product on the back end, you actually get, a monetary stake in investing in a company where traditionally only, VCs could have those opportunities.
Yeah, and that's a good point. It's extremely important to first say that it's extremely risky, right? Early stage investing, there's usually a limited amount of information on companies, and most of it is ideas, rather than actual things that have been built. But it is traditionally a space that's only been available to accredited investors, people with millions of dollars or a certain amount of income over the last 2 years. And this portal is something that makes it available to the regular individual. You don't have to be a millionaire. You can just be a standard person and have access to these investments.
Right. So accredited investors, to be honest with you, I know I am an accredited investor. I got a little letter from my CPA because I had to give it to somebody most recently, but I don't even know what that concept. What is it? What do you have to be an accredited investor?
Yeah, so it's based off of, I just want to make sure I get it right. It's based off of either your assets or your income. And I think the assets is $1 million.
Okay.
And I think the income is either $200,000 or $300,000 for the last, like each year for 2 years, and you need to be able to prove that. So it's
So that
either
excludes a lot of people. So
99%.
so by allowing this platform, like a platform like yours, to bring people in there, it includes a ton of people. And now, to be clear, this can happen in another way. Like people can go out and do, a crowdfunding round, as long as it's under certain, 5 million a year, I think it is. Is that correct?
On the
For a
platform?
business?
Yeah.
Well, even just in general, like I could, if I wanted to, I could go out and do it myself, but I'd have to file all the documents and, get the whole, it's a whole deal. It's a whole ordeal. So
Well,
you're
yeah,
just
so
making it a lot easier for people to kind of move through that aspect. Is that correct?
there are a good amount of, security offerings, different ways where you can do things that are securities, and they all involve their kind of filing. You have Reg CF, which is what we're doing, or Reg A plus, Regulation A plus. It always sounds like Reg A plus.
Reg A.
Yeah, I was just thinking that.
Yeah,
Reg
man.
D. And each of them, they have their limitations. They have the amounts that you can raise and things like that. But, here is, on the platform on Seedstarter, it's just one simple place where hopefully there will be multiple issuers, multiple companies. And then hopefully as time goes by, an established base of people who are interested in investing. So it's kind of just like a space that brings everybody together.
Yeah.
Well, if I decided, I do want to try and go do it myself, I have to go try to find all the individuals that want to become a part of this, and then, potentially go the route of building out my own platform to accept all of these, offerings from other people. And so it is a one-stop shop essentially for investors.
Yeah. Yeah, and if you wanted to do it that way, you couldn't do a Reg CF offering because those can only happen on portals. But you could do a Regulation A plus offering or a Reg D offering, and they both have their abilities in terms of when you can bring unaccredited investors into them. Like with Reg D, you can, but you have like a 35-person limit, and they have to be. There's like a level of familiarity that I won't go into detail at, but you have to be able to prove that they're actually like familiar with the project more than just like they found it on a site. And they both have varying different levels of additional filing requirements. So like a Reg A plus offering, which does allow unaccredited investors, also you have to do a different type of filing with the SEC, which is more detailed. It includes audited financials, GAAP financials, and you actually have to file that, and it doesn't get approved by the SEC. It gets qualified, which is just basically like we didn't deny it, but that could take 90 days. And it's just more paperwork, more legal fees. Often Reg A plus offerings might cost like $100,000 before you even get to the table of taking in money, whereas like a Reg CF, it's very simplified. The form that you file is a Form C, which is like 2 pages of very basic information. You put together your pitch, but if you're getting lawyers involved in it, you can probably keep your fees under $5 or $10,000 before you actually do the raise. Some people decide not to use lawyers at all, which do at your own risk, and you don't have many fees at all before a raise, and the filing is simplified, and you don't have to get qualified by the SEC before you go forward with a raise. So it's a more simplified process.
So let me ask you this then. There's a lot of stuff that's going on here. If I were to have a project and bring it to Seedstarter personally, do you have yourself or a team of people that are helping guide me through what I should possibly do that? Or do you have somebody that you recommend? Like if I don't have a lawyer, I just have a business idea. I want to raise money for it. So obviously there's a lot of nuance in here that needs to be walked through for anybody that's new in trying to raise funds. How do you make that easier for people?
Yeah. And it's important to note that, the team right now, it's small. We're a startup ourselves, and we're trying to ultimately get to the point where we hire a lot more people. But in terms of what we do, we do assist the companies who want to offer on our platform. They'll come in, and we give them pointers and advice. We can't give legal advice, but we do have our form documents. So if you want to go forward with a SAFE, which is agreement for future equity, if you want to go forward with a revenue share type document, whatever you decide, we have a general form for that, unless you decide to issue something extremely unheard of, a new type of investment contract that you want to create. We have basic forms and say, look, it's not legal advice, but these have been drafted by attorneys. They're not always plug and plays, but generally, when you look at the case of most of these documents, they look the same, when they're filed with the SEC. And we're here to walk you through it. We just can't give you that legal advice. But there, if somebody feels comfortable, they can certainly go forward without their own counsel.
So, in terms of counsel, then, do you have recommendations of maybe some firms that would that you would push them or towards to like talk to, or just have them find somebody out there to,
It's
Bob
something
on the
we're
corner?
working on. Yeah,
Okay.
no, it's something that we're working on. I mean, I have my lawyers, right? And it could become a conflict of interest if I send people to the lawyers that I use. But I do have a pretty decent connection of people, but I'm trying to work on that next level of, the first thing in a business is to make sure your business works, make sure the platform works, make sure you have the right people. And now it's about building those next networks, for people who come to the platform so that they're available. So, the people who come day one are probably, it's going to look a lot different in a year. There's going to probably be a lot more services and a lot more things streamlined. Here, it's a little bit more manual up front.
Nice. I mean, in all actuality, when we look at stuff moving forward, that people make things complicated, right? And as long as you have the framework of stuff, it can make it much more simplified. And then, moving down that path. So,
yeah.
Well, let's talk about some of the stuff that you are excited about getting on your platform. I know you talk about the royalties. You've been really excited about the royalties. I see you tweet about them a little bit. We've talked about them on the side as well. And I mean, I feel there's a big room for that space as well. But explain to me a kind of a vision in that. Let's talk about film. Film would be a good one. Like, how do you see a royalties potentially working out with this platform, and how does that help people in the future?
Yeah, it helps both sides, right? So we'll break it down into the film studio or the person creating a film. Let's say it's just one person, and then the regular people, all the people who are interested in that film. So starting with the person who has this idea, like, I want to create this film, and I think I like we'll call it Roy your boat, right? But no, you want to create this film. You have this great idea about like cryptocurrency and investing or whatever you decide it is, and you have a couple of traditional routes in which you can try to get funding. Many of them involve absolute control. Either you are doing something and you are literally selling the project to like some service, or you're selling it to a company that is a distributor or whatever, and they take control over your project, control over what you're doing. And then your idea no longer becomes your idea. It becomes your idea with other people's edits. So for that person, what this platform offers is they can say, well, I want to fundraise in a different way where I keep control of my project, but I, don't need to go to that one big guy anymore. I go to the people on my block and on the street and in the town and all over the world to, invest in my idea, get them hooked on my idea, and then have them invest in it. Now, for those people, they're only going to do it if there's something, financially in it for them. And, you can always add the bonuses, where like, if you invest, not only do you have this financial interest, but you also will get the first copies, or you'll get to go to the unveiling, the first showing or whatever. Whatever, you can add experiences and all these other things to it. But in terms of like the investor, what is really cool is like, imagine being able to invest in a film or a movie or a TV show, and if they make money, you get a percentage of the revenue. Even if it's 1%, even if you're selling 1% of your revenue to 1,000 people, if you end up with a blockbuster, each of those people are going to get a share of that 1% of the profits, and it's really exciting for them. So it's just like a whole new way of investing in a company or a platform or whatever you have, and not having like something like a stock that might be a liquid that you might not be able to sell elsewhere, but just getting a passive income based on the success. And that is what I hope is the future.
Yeah, I see film, music, that art style has, people that are very passionate about whatever it is. Music, you love that artist, like you're so passionate about it, and being able to, help fund that from a get go. And whether it's, $500 or $1,000 doesn't matter. You have that ability to be a part of that on that road and be a part of the success. So being a passionate person in that, I think it really will, kind of push that forward. That's an exciting one to watch that one kind of play out. So
Yeah, it would be super cool. Like I have all these shows that I love or films that I love, and yeah, it's you're probably not going to have like the Game of Thrones who has a TV show that's going to cost $1 billion, crowdfunding, but there are really cool, whether they're indie projects, where um, you could really get involved in them early stage, or you can get involved in a piece of them. I mean, technically Game of Thrones could say, hey, we want to get 75 million from a group of unaccredited investors. And I'm sure that they would be able to do it instantaneously if they listed something
Right.
like that.
Oh,
right.
And they could do that on a platform like mine. But you're probably going to get more of the smaller scale things, but like being able to watch something and then also know that you're a part of that thing. Who knows? Maybe they even have like whoever invests over $10,000 is part of the credits, right? And you might start to see your name in credits on something that gets listed on
yeah.
Netflix.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's the kind of stuff that people want. Like, I would love that. That would be what would tip me over the edge of an investment if I knew that I might be on Netflix one day looking at my own name, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, 100%, dude. Yeah, especially if you really love what they're doing. Like it's a fun one. It's exciting. So Betty, you looked like you had a question.
Well, I think that's a really cool point. With the film industry specifically, it makes so much sense, right? Because you have these indie films, right? They'll raise money, they'll go to a film festival like Sundance in the hopes of getting bought by a Netflix or an HBO or a Hulu or a Warner Brothers or whatever that may be, to then they take on all the marketing and they make it bigger than it can be on your own. And so it could even be cool, right? Like that's part of it. Like, hey, we're trying to raise this money to go to Sundance or something like that. If we get to say we do get bought out, based off that buyout, the investors will get, X amount of that return or whatever that could be, and some royalties in perpetuity or whatever that may look like. So that's kind of where you see A24 kind of breaking the game a little bit, because they're, allowing that creative freedom to remain truer
Right.
to the core. And that's why their films are so amazing, right? It's like when you allow the people to stay true to their idea and you allow that idea to flourish, it's a really cool concept. So I'm excited for that.
Yeah, and that's that's the super cool thing, and this is where like maybe I'm dreaming too much, but right now people who go to these festivals and they want to sell their films or whatever, now they are excited to sell them for $100,000, but then they look and see that studio then makes 10 million off of it or 100 million off of it. And by opening up these new opportunities, I'm really hoping that somebody comes around and says, well, I can make a business off of these people making a business, and then it becomes like the middleman between like the Netflixes and the Amazons and these people who self-fund. So there's a different way to get onto the platform, because somebody's going to be like, wow, I have these connections. I'll monetize these connections, and you all are self-funding and have a big crowd. I'll be the middleman of helping to get people onto these platforms that doesn't involve you just like totally selling out all of your rights. And that's where each of these things are going to create new opportunities where people can make money, and it will hopefully change the entire process of how things work.
Yeah, I mean, I'm excited about the DAO concept as a opportunity with your platform for many different reasons. And one, I honestly got to stop calling it a DAO, because it's much like the term crypto. People think of crypto, they have a bad taste in their mouth. The DAO, there's so much out there that's showing, a lot of people, DAOs don't work. You can't run a company with people having a say. And I fully believe that there's a structure, and we've written a few different white papers showing the structure that we're looking at implementing that I think could be highly successful and is still, honestly, it's a DAO, it's a decentralized autonomous organization at the end of it, but it's ran a little bit different. In this, I go back to 2020 was the first time I really wanted to start a DAO. It was off Gala's stuff and play to earn games and creating a platform where people could invest into some of the assets that were too expensive for them to own, but still be able to earn off of those assets that were potentially there, nodes, NFTs, whatever, and be a part of a community within that. And then going down that route, you just realize what a legal nightmare it is to try and start that up. It didn't make sense. But with a platform like this, you can raise funds, you can give them ownership of the company, or rev share, however you want to position it out, and have everybody within that community benefit from it. So I'm super excited about that, to be able to add it to the platform as we move forward too.
Yeah,
So.
I mean, the idea of a DAO has always excited me, and the idea of like a governance, like you said, getting aside from DAO, but like some token that is a governance type token where like based on owning it, you have a say in the direction. But the biggest reasons, like you said, why people are having a hard time making them succeed is it's hard to be financially incentivized by a governance token because you're just hoping that token goes up in value. But through something like securitizing the equity in a company or securitizing the profits in a company through a token, you can have this passive income right in how successful the DAO or the company itself is, and then those who are involved might not care so much about whether there's a secondary market for their token. And they don't have to care so much about, oh, is the SEC going to call my token a security? Are they going to call my governance token a security? Because the answer is, yeah, they are, because you literally created it that way.
Yeah,
you
exactly.
Issued it with the SEC, and that's not a bad thing.
Yeah. Right. That's the thing that got me a long time ago. We were talking about raising funds for Blackheart from the get-go, and it was, every time we started talking about stuff, I wanted to do something. It was, well, that's going to be a security. That's going to be a security. And I'm like, at a point, I was like, well, why are we so scared of being a security in the first place? And so when you approached me with this a long time ago, I was like, thank the Lord. Like, who cares? Like, it's a security. You're still raising funds. You're still creating the project like you talked about. Okay, now you're just doing it in the way that they've given you. As much as I disagree with a lot of stuff they do, but at least they've given you guidelines of what you're supposed to do. Now you can actually do it. So I think it's fantastic. I'm excited.
Thank you. Yeah,
I think I've said it way too many times.
I'm excited too. So, but yeah, that's the important thing, is why are we afraid that things are called a security? And I'm gonna give you the disclaimer of like my bias is gonna come out here. And what I mean by that is I think that a lot of people in the blockchain space have been conditioned that security is bad, and that's because a lot of companies have used blockchain products to raise money, and are afraid that if their product is deemed a security, then that's going to be a massive nightmare for their business. And so all these people are, so the people with the power, right, which are the people with the money generally, which are often the companies, are the ones who are afraid of the SEC coming after them, are going out there and saying security bad, SEC calling us security is bad, blah blah, all that kind of stuff. And it's true, I think the SEC is probably over-regulating in a lot of areas. But what's not true is that being a security is inherently bad, or issuing a security is inherently bad. And I understand why a lot of companies are afraid of that, because it could wreck a lot of business models. But, if you do it intentionally from the beginning, there's still no guarantee of success. But, it's a lot less scary when you have decided from day one, I'm going to issue a security and I'm okay with that.
Right.
Well, and on the other side too is, because there is such a kind of distaste for crypto and stuff amongst the, general populace, right? I mean, the majority of people that invest in crypto, I mean, the amount of investors in crypto compared to legacy markets is, incredibly small. So those people the regular investors will like the idea of it being a security because they're like, oh, I'm used to that. Everything else I own is a security or whatnot anyways. Like I know that this isn't some sort of scam type process like I'm so scared of getting involved in because of everything that is so rampant right now in the space. So I do think it brings a sense of clarity and like, a sense of being at ease to people that necessarily aren't super vested in the crypto space already.
I hope so, and it does bring out there's that inherent battle with the especially early day crypto people of like the reason that some of them don't like the idea of this kind of a platform is it does involve KYC. It does involve actually giving up, you have to say who you are. Now, I'm not going to take your identity and then like post it on Twitter, right? I have legal obligations not to do that. But there is a level of this is who I am and this is what I'm investing in. But that level goes on the other side too. The companies are disclosing who they are. You're not sending $7 million worth of ETH to a random Twitter address who promise you that he's going to airdrop you tokens,
Yeah.
And so it's a little like there's still no
Ben.
guarantees, but
Yeah, Ben, I know. Yeah, it's like
PSYOP.
how are we still doing this? How is that
don't
still
know.
a thing though?
It's raised like 18 million.
Is it really 18 million?
It's something.
Yeah.
Stupid.
Oh my
Yes.
God.
and now he's creating new tokens to airdrop to old token holders, and it's just it's the craziest thing.
But this has been, time immemorial. Really 2016 and 2017, we saw a lot. I mean, it just really, really went rampant. And the influencers and the way they go about it. And the fact that people will literally just send people money like that, just let me send it to you, and I'm going to create a magic token that has no utility whatsoever. It's just a token that we're gonna pump and dump, and it's just, yeah. I get the reason why and the psychology behind it, and understand why people do it. But it's still baffling to a point of society hasn't learned. Crypto Twitter hasn't learned. Oh, it's crazy.
And those people who are earlier are making a good amount of money. So they're like, look, we were right. We told you. And
right.
I'm just like, yeah, that's because you're at the top of the pyramid, wait until the bottom of that pyramid starts to form.
Exactly. I mean, it's, I've had conversations with people, with the PayPay coin, and even in the Gala swap that went down, I've had conversations with people on morality issues of them wanting to go and swap, because you could have taken your Gala V1, swapped it out on Uniswap, and made X amount of dollars on it as soon as the swap happened. And, for me, I was like, you couldn't do that, but you're also kind of, taking people's money in a sense that's out there, that it's the morality side of it is, for me, not really there. And that's where a lot of people miss out. These pump and dump schemes are purely that. They're all psychology driven, and you have to have a loser if there's a winner. So if somebody's making 10 million on one side, somebody's losing 10 million on the other side.
Mm-hmm.
So and that is why crypto gets such a bad rap. But if we can do things the right way and build things the right way, and this has been my hardest thing, being forged in crypto, right? And then trying to do them the right way, and I say right way, that the government tells us to do it, like, because morally I'm going to do it the right way. Like, that's how I operate, right? Like, that's what I want to do. But I have to also do it within the realms of the government to make sure that, I'm not in prison trying to do it the right way. So this will come wrap it around to the platform, is the platform gives that opportunity for these projects to do it the right way, to raise it the right way, to offer it to these people that normally can't invest into these projects, and actually, potentially make some really life-changing money, or at least just feel good about being a part of a project that they wanted to be. So
yeah, I agree. And it gives you the ability to do these things that that were common, in 2016 and 2017. You launch a token and you say, inherently in this token, we're going to have this staking mechanism, and you're going to be able to make more tokens just by staking and, X, Y, and Z. And then you have the SEC taking 8 years to come out and say, well, staking is generally a security, or this is generally a security, or whatever. And you can do that kind of stuff with, if you issue it as a security, you can have a token that is staking, that you're staking that token to get more token, kinds of things. You could have a revenue share. But what's even cool is that if you want to just sell your token to the world, you can package it as a security, and that doesn't mean that the token itself is a security. Now, everyone, like all these companies who are facing troubles or worried about their token being a security, the real way it breaks down is it's likely that their token itself inherently isn't a security, but they probably sold it in a security offering. And that's really what they're the most afraid of.
Yeah. And, again, it's just all about the way it's been presented over the last few years of why a security is bad, and, what we've been told or how it's been portrayed. So it's time to change that perception. So
I hope so. Yeah.
So let's see. You got some projects that I know you have some, because I've talked to you about some, but then I've seen some announcements with different ones, and you got projects that are coming. When do you expect us to see the first project on your platform?
Yeah. So what I'm trying to intentionally be slow about it. I have, I'll be honest, I have about since I first launched it, I've had about 10 companies come forward and say, hey, we're interested in launching on your platform. Before that, there was about 5 to 7, so it's about 17 total with interest. Right now, we have about, I'd say, 5 that want to launch in the next 60 days. And any of them could probably turn around and say, I want to go, I want to launch tomorrow, and the platform's ready. It's good to go. But what I'm doing is I'm totally revamping it to, it works. I like to compare it to like Amazon Books. I think that's the best way that I can explain it. Like Amazon Books wasn't the most beautiful thing, but you were able to buy your books. But we're revamping it to make it look a lot cleaner, look a lot nicer. We had just designed it and built it so that it would pass the review of scrutiny from government agencies. And that's we're looking at probably 30 days for that to be ready. So I'm not trying to push any offerings live until that platform, it looks nicer. And I'm working with companies, and some are like, look, I still probably want to go in the next 15 days. So we haven't made a determination of the first one yet, but you could see it in a week. I'd say more likely within the next 60 days will probably be the first, if not like the first couple.
Nice.
Awesome.
That's exciting.
Yeah, that's really exciting.
So revamping the whole site, like just the look and feel of it, the operation of it, because it's functional. So as you're working that way, are you adding new features to it, or
look, feel, and features, kind of all of it,
all
so
of
like
above?
Yeah, right now, if you went on the website, you would see it. You'd be able to say, hey, this company's raising funds. This is how much they want to raise. This is what it looks like. It's very like blocky. It kind of looks like this homepage right here. It's very blocky. The flow is very blocky as well. It just doesn't look pretty. It works. It just I'll be the first to admit it's not the most beautiful thing. But it was about getting something over the finish line to be able to get approval, because that's the way that it works. Is you can't get approval unless you can show a working product, and you don't want to spend $100 grand, $200 grand on a working product if you don't know if you're going to get approval. So It's like the catch-22 of how much you design it. So it's going to be a bit of all of it, and incorporating features that make it just more easy to use for investors and for companies alike.
So as an investor, I got a KYC myself. What does that entail on the KYC side? How in depth is the KYC?
It's basically no different than like creating a bank account where you or like creating an account with like most exchanges in the US, right? Like Coinbase, where you have to get a picture of yourself with a license. I don't know if you actually have to do that thing where you take a selfie of yourself with a license. I think it's just like identity proof, and your address and your social security number and things like that. And obviously, if you're in another country, you can do the same just with whatever IDs you have there. Because even though the companies are limited to US, the investors are not limited to US. But it's it's not any much more than what you'd see on like an exchange or a bank account.
Fairly simple. I'm sure everybody that complains about KYCing has a an exchange where they had a KYC themselves,
for a bank
so
account or a credit card or something,
if you're an American, you have to, like,
Yeah.
you can't, it's hard to offboard and actually have money in the account unless you just keep it all in crypto. So, so then I just lost my question. Damn it. Should have written it down. So what I was going to say was in crypto, can I invest with crypto, or is that something that's going to come down the road potentially?
Yeah, so this is something that is it's a really tough one because there's no direct rules on whether somebody can use cryptocurrency or not on a platform like this. But when you look at the others like it, no one's doing it. And the biggest reason is that inherently in the way that the platform works is a company will create a campaign and kind of like any of the other crowdfunding platforms, whether it's Kickstarter or not, and say this campaign is going to close in 30 days or it's going to close in 15 days or 2 months, whatever you decide. But the thing is, you can pull your money out at any moment. And so what that means is that it's not like you pay at the last moment. It's when you want to make an investment, you send the money over. It's held in our escrow account, not by my platform itself. We have a bank in the middle. And it's held there until either the launch is successful or it's not. If the launch is successful, that money goes to the company. If it's not, everybody gets their money back. And so first, it's impossible to find a company that really wants to custody cryptocurrency in that meantime, and my bank is surely not going to do it. So that's problem one. Problem two is, let's say that you did invest with Dogecoin, right? Dogecoin is very volatile, and the Dogecoin was worth 1,000 when you invested, but by the time that the investment closes, it's worth $200. Now, do you get a $1,000 investment because you put it in then, or do you get a $200 investment? Or if you want to pull it out, do you get $1,000 back or do you get $200 back? So those are kind of the concerns. Now, the strategy that I'm working on, and we're going to have to go through some legal review on this before we launch it, is that we're looking at putting a payment provider on the front end that immediately converts any crypto you want to pay with that they support into USD. That USD gets deposited into our escrow account, and in that process, you've had to click like 5 pop-ups that say, I understand this is being converted to USD. I understand if I want my money back, I'm not getting the crypto I paid with, I'm getting USD, and X, Y, and all those things that make it clear that even though you paid in Doge, if you ever get your money back, it's not coming back in Doge. It's coming back in USD. And so we're working on that, working on the disclaimer language, and working on final legal approval and review. I have faith that we'll be able to do it. But it might end up being that at least until the government is really ready, we're going to go forward with credit card, bank account, and wire transfers.
Yeah, I bought a a portion of a house with crypto in 2001. We used BitPay. Essentially did the same thing. So I know it can be done. I'll be excited for that because I know a lot of people would like to use their crypto. Because I don't hold US dollars, man. Like, come on, you're gonna make me convert, but it's fine. It's fine. Whatever I got to do. So let's see. Go ahead.
One of my questions I had, so you guys are a startup within yourself, and I don't know how much you can, really get into this, but is there going to be an opportunity, like if I want to invest in Seedstarter as a platform, is there ever going to be an opportunity for that?
Yeah. So I have to be generally pretty tight-lipped about whether we're going to give investment opportunities out. But I am interested in the idea of it. I'm interested in the idea of regular people being able to be a part of my platform, be inherently interested in my platform. But whether or not we're going to actually go forward with a sale or a security offering, I wouldn't be able to announce that until we filed appropriate paperwork with the SEC. And I can tell you that right now we have not filed any paperwork with the SEC.
Got it. Yeah, because I know, Seedstarter itself is like a perfect company for Seedstarter, right? It's the idea of like, oh, that's such a no-brainer concept. Like, I'd love to be able to get in on that. So I like hearing at least that it's something that potentially perhaps could maybe be an opportunity.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. And it's like part of the rules of the way the business works, right? It's kind of, a big part I don't agree with is like, let's say that you're a company and you're seeking investment. You can't just take your pitch deck and put it on a website and open it to the world because it's like considered solicitation. I don't really understand why, but you can't. I mean, I understand the rules and why the rules say you can't, but I'm not the biggest fan of it. And so if I were to say today, yes, we are going to be doing that, and this is when, it would be considered solicitation.
Got it.
But the idea definitely intrigues me.
Yeah. Well, that was my question I was going to go down to, so covered it. So we're getting close to 45. I don't want to go over 45. We want people to listen. Once it goes an hour, people kind of start to be like, yeah, okay, I'm good. I think we got a lot of the good stuff out of the way. Is there anything else you wanted to say, Jesse?
Not really. I mean, thank you for having me on. I love I love talking to you guys. I think anyone listening, if you're not already in the Forge Discord, you should come. It's it's a great place to talk, and it's also where I get my therapy sessions out. So it's very
a lot of venting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a safe space.
But yeah, I'm just excited. If anyone has any questions, concerns, we also have our Discord as well.
Yeah, I'll plug that in our comments right here, so everyone can see that.
Yeah, it's been exciting. Today's been like a big day for adding people. I think because I went on a video with Crypto Airy, if you know who she is, and she just posted that today. And I think single-handedly she like doubled the Discord just by posting her video.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Yeah, because she's on the board too, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Definitely. Yeah, we have a lot of good advisors, none of which are on this call right now. No, Forged is a great advisor. But
I'm just an advisor, not a good one.
Yeah.
Exactly.
You always have to have the opposite on there somewhere. We're like, we're glad you talked, but yeah, we'll just go the other way.
Yeah.
You need the devil on the shoulder, right? The
Exactly.
angel on the shoulder of the devil.
The
one
yin and the
telling you to
yang.
do bad things. Yeah, I'm just excited. I'm excited to I was excited just to announce it. Now I'm excited to really start to show what can happen on the platform. And I'd love to just hear more from people, good and bad ideas, what you think I should be doing, what I'm doing wrong. So come to the Discord, tag me on Twitter, whatever. I can definitely answer from my accounts. It's going to be limited if you tag the company accounts because there are communication rules, and the company can only kind of like directly communicate things. But if you comment on things, that could be seen as like approval. So like just tag me or come in our Discord or whatever.
But such weird rules. Goodness.
Yeah.
It's wild.
It's so funny.
It's so wild.
Yeah.
Well, man,
it's good though.
I mean, you have to rules and regulations are there. They're set in place to help and make sure people are safe and whatnot. And this is a whole nother philosophical conversation we could get into on another time. But sometimes they just go over and above, and they don't change things as technology changes and try to fit the square peg in the round hole type of situation and just make it work. So, but doing what we can, we'll make this thing great. So I was really glad to have you on and talk with you, and we'll talk to you soon.
Thanks, guys.
All right, man. You take care.
You too.
Bye. You can hang on for.